Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Got my first real six string.
Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.
This week in gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Happy Thanksgiving, Canada. Welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on the formation of a new studio. Halo's art director drops out. Employees claim that retailers are ditching Xbox hardware. And a new frontier for gaming hits smart TVs near you. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's get started. Veteran art director for the Halo series, Glenn Israel, has announced that after 17 years, he is leaving Halo Studios. In his tenure, Glenn Israel has worked on Halo ODST, Halo Reach, Halo 4, 5, and Halo Infinite. He shared the news via LinkedIn in a message that reads, "As of today, and after 17 long years, I am officially no longer contributing to the Halo universe. There's little more I can say for the moment, though I intend to share this particular story in its entirety when it is absolutely safe to do so next year. I know that the state of our industry seems dire, but never forget that you are free to choose. No illusion of security nor promise of wealth or fame or power is worth trading away your health, your dignity, your ethics, or values. And no one can force you to. Stay strong, take evidence when necessary, and find where you belong." It is pretty clear from this message, especially from the second half, that Glenn is not leaving Halo Studios on the best of terms, and it seems that his reason for leaving may be tied to a clash between Halo Studios and Glenn's moral compass. We'll have to wait and see how this unfolds in the not-so-near future. According to a report from video game news outlet GameFile, Ubisoft nixed an Assassin's Creed concept back in July 2024, deeming the game's story to be too controversial. In concept, the title would have had players take on the role of a former slave in a post-Civil War United States, wherein the game's protagonist would return to the South to snuff out key historical figures who played a role in the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. Ubisoft faced a backlash when they revealed that Assassin's Creed Shadows would feature Yasuke, the historically accurate black samurai, as the game's protagonist. Fear that featuring underrepresented people in games has been cause for retaliation is believed to have played a role in management's decision to go in a different direction for their game. After Costco began liquidating Xbox consoles as part of a business decision to stop selling Xbox hardware on its stores, online rumors began to swirl that other retailers are making a similar decision to pull Xbox stock. The rumors began with a post on the gaming subreddit titled, "The Target I work at is no longer selling Xbox games." Other Redditors who claim to work at Target or Walmart are substantiating these claims by creating their own posts with photographic evidence of entire shelving units, once dedicated to displaying Xbox games, being removed entirely. Xbox has caught wind of the rumors and is assuring consumers that Xbox stock isn't going anywhere. In a statement to Windows Central, Xbox has said, "Target and Walmart, among other retailers, remain committed partners for Xbox consoles, accessories, and games." Good to note. Amidst the layoffs plaguing the video game industry, a new studio is being formed by a team of developers that were directly affected by the layoffs. Sackbird Studios is founded by core members of the development team that worked on Project Blackbird, one of the many titles canceled by Microsoft in July of this year. The Sackbird Studios team has declared that with no outside investors and full creative control, the team is focused on building great games on their own terms. Former principal engineer at ZeniMax, now turned Sackbird Studios COO, David Worley, had this to say. "After years in AAA, we wanted the freedom to take smart risks without waiting for a green light or chasing quarterly targets. We're fully employee-owned and funded, which means we only answer to people who are passionate about games." Sackbird Studios isn't ready to announce any games yet, but they are apparently hard at work on a title they plan to release across multiple platforms in the future.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Vikrant Mathur joins us to chat about his business Future Today and how they've just added video games to connected TVs. No console required.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Hi, Vikrant. Thank you so much for coming to This Week in Gaming. It's so great to have you.
Hi, Naomi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited because you guys are bringing games to connected TVs. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct. Yes.
So tell me more about what you guys are bringing, what this initiative is, and also a little bit about you and what you do there.
Yeah, sure. So the company is Future Today, for folks that may not know. I'm one of the founders of the company, started in 2006. And it was in 2010, just to maybe give you a little bit of context
yeah, please.
On the company. We got into the streaming space in 2010. And the original sort of idea was streaming is going to fundamentally change the way people consumed content, and it would democratize the distribution and consumption, especially on the big screen, right? Because back then, and perhaps even now, when you look at the total time of consumption for video content, TV still reigns supreme, right? 90+% of the overall video consumption still happens on TV. And so that was sort of the original thesis of let's move into streaming, because that's where the audience is going to be. That's where more and more content is going to be distributed. And so we started the company, or rather started the company in the online video space, but then moved into streaming in 2010, 2011 with that thesis. And as we were looking at the device, we always felt that given the fact that the device was sitting on an IP-based backbone, right, using internet, Wi-Fi, it could always go beyond the traditional experiences that we've had on the big screen, right? And given the bidirectional nature of it, there were opportunities to build unique and interesting experiences that transcended just the traditional sort of passive, lean back viewing experience that we were all as consumers used to, right? So that was in 2010, 2011. And as viewership has grown, as streaming's become more mainstream, we felt like, over the last year, we felt like it was the right time for us to start thinking about some of these, unique and interesting experiences. Obviously, we've seen, QR codes and other interactive advertising experiences take off in the streaming space, but games is one area where we felt, the industry is, incredibly huge, right, outside the TV form factor. And we were thinking, okay, how can the TV play a role in this industry? And what is the place for TV from an experience standpoint when it comes to gaming? And so that's why we got into the gaming space. We felt like there was an opportunity for us to create experiences for the casual gamer, right, who is perhaps not using an Xbox, a PlayStation, and perhaps not even using the mobile device, right, to essentially bridge that gap for them where they could use their big screen 55, 65-inch television in the comfort of their living room and have an experience with these casual games, which could be facilitated through the up, down, left, right arrow keys on the remote control. And so that's really the thesis. That's what we're doing. We're not trying to compete with the Xboxes and PlayStations of the world. It's really about bringing a wider audience or user base into this ecosystem who would enjoy playing a casual game, but may not be to the point where a hardcore Xbox or a PlayStation gamer might be.
Right. Well, that's super interesting. And thank you so much, Vikrant. We're going to cut to Games Out This Week real quick, and we'll be right back.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.
Games Out This Week.
Starting on October 14th, NASCAR 25 pulls in for a pit stop on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Just Dance 2026 busts a move on PS5, PC, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. On October 15th, Lords of Ravage corrupts the PC. Ball X Pit ricochets onto PS5, PC, Switch, Xbox Series X and S, and is available day one on Game Pass Ultimate. Then on October 16th, Reach vaults across all VR platforms. Pokemon Legends ZA Mega evolves exclusively on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. And on October 17th, The Elf on the Shelf Christmas Heroes soars onto all platforms. Keeper lights the way on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and is available day one on Game Pass Ultimate. The Epic Game Store is offering 2 free games this week, Samorost 3 and Amnesia the Bunker, which will be available for download from October 16th until the 23rd.
Quest accepted.
All right, so Future Today is the company.
That's correct.
And you guys are bringing games to connected TVs, to televisions with internet, and you're able now to download. So there's games and you're able to play them using the controller, like your normal remote.
Yes.
Tell me, what are the offerings and how can people gain access to this?
Yeah, so we have about 65 games that we've launched, right? And it spans a wide variety. But like I said, these are casual games for individuals, families, looking to spend perhaps even time together, right? So these are, for example, trivia games, right? Where
of course. I immediately thought of that.
Right. You have, games like air hockey, for example, or tic-tac-toe style,
I like it. Yeah.
Some of them are educational, right? Some of them are just pure fun, right? Car racing style games. So that's really the style of games. We're also thinking about other brands that we could potentially partner with and bring those experiences to the connected TV. Or we work with a lot of influencers, in the digital space. And so thinking about, okay, if they've got a strong community and if they've got a theme to the content that they produce, could we put together a game around their theme and content? So there's a lot of different ideas that are sort of being discussed. But like I said, these are very simple games which you can very easily play through your remote control.
So is there, I think, talking future, let's say somebody starts playing and they become a gamer because of this, and now they don't want to play on the remote anymore. They'd rather play with a controller or something like that. Is that something you guys are thinking of implementing in the future?
Perhaps, but I think, again, it depends on the landscape and where we want to play, within this ecosystem and landscape, right? We feel like what we're doing right now is very, very different, right? So it's a sort of a niche space that we're trying to carve out for ourselves. I think the question would be, as we try to make these games more sophisticated, now are we starting to, cross over into the territory of bigger studios, right? And is that a place for us? Is that what we want to do and be? Right, because it's a very competitive landscape. It's a very, in many cases, a very hit-driven sort of ecosystem as well. And so, never say no, but I think for now and perhaps the foreseeable future, we feel like the CTV casual gaming environment is really the place for us to be, and that's where we want to focus.
So you're not looking to compete necessarily with mobile or consoles or those sorts of things. You're just kind of stepping stone, one step at a time, and kind of seeing where it goes. And like you said, carving out your own niche. Yeah.
And to the extent, I think, again, to the extent that we want to sort of expand out into other form factors, I think we might look at other games that are more adaptable and perhaps more conducive to that form factor, right? So perhaps we would have games. We also have mobile apps. So perhaps we have games available through the mobile apps, but these games may not necessarily be the exact same games that you're playing on the TV, right? Because again, you have to think about the form factor and all the functionality and all the capability that comes along with it. So the future is yet to be written, but but I think it's not going to be a copy paste of what we're doing on CTV.
Got it. Do you see CTV gaming evolving into anything else beyond games at this point? I feel like this is the last thing to add, right? Because you have pretty much everything else besides games, and now games are on there. So I don't see if there would be anything else potentially in the future or stuff that you guys are looking at.
Yeah, I think, again, I think as the devices become more sophisticated and improve in power and processing speed and memory and all of those sort of technical capabilities, I think there could be, other experiences like, we often talk about augmented reality, virtual reality, right? How does an external headset sort of play into the more immersive experience, both video consumption as well as gaming, perhaps, right? So I think there's a long way for us to go in terms of, how these experiences evolve and, what we eventually end up doing in terms of, interaction with the content and engagement with it. But I think from a gaming perspective, I feel like, again, I don't think CTV would replace consoles or replace mobile. I think there's a time and place and a user base, right? That's
right
for those consoles and for the mobile gaming experience. And I don't think CTV is going to replace that. I think it complements it, where to the point that you were making earlier, if we can bring in new users and they eventually graduate to become more sophisticated players and want to go on and experiment with other games that they may have, not felt comfortable or perhaps, equipped to play and handle, then that's great, right? We're sort of growing the industry as a whole. But I think, from our standpoint, we feel like it gives, again, an additional sort of content opportunity for publishers to engage with the users, right? And also I feel like from a user standpoint, it leverages into the communal aspect of the TV viewing experience, right? Where, as opposed to mobile or desktop, which is a very sort of personal device, TV is a more social and communal experience. And so to the extent that you could have a family playing, a trivia game together and enjoying their time on a Friday evening, I think that's really where we want to excel, and that's where we want to focus.
I wanted to ask too, because you mentioned the publishers of the games. How did you guys go about selecting which games to include in this? Was that a difficult process?
So, we had a lot of ideas, and I think the key criteria for us was, could it be a fun experience, one, and two, could it be translated into a simple enough experience that somebody could browse through and navigate, on a very simple device. And so those were sort of the two key criterias. As I mentioned, we've launched a lot of games. We're slowly starting to get some data back, and we will continue to evolve the process in terms of, what we want to keep, what we want to enhance and improve upon. But I think at this point in time, we were essentially just looking at those two dimensions in terms of criteria. And then, we'll sort of let the data speak for itself.
Speaking of data, have you gotten any early feedback from families or kids or people that you've run this by, or just early folks who've adopted to it yet?
Yeah, we're obviously getting some viewership data and whatnot, but I think in terms of more qualitative feedback that we've received, I think, as a parent, I can sort of relate to this is, oftentimes the kids would take your personal device, right? Parents' phones or tablets, and then they're playing games there, right? And oftentimes they're tempted to download other games. Sometimes the parents know what they're downloading. Sometimes they don't know what they're downloading, right? Sometimes there's payments getting processed because they have to buy credits or coins or things like that, right? And again, from a control standpoint, sometimes the parents feel, and I'm certainly in that group, that I'm not in complete control of that experience, right? Because the kids have ownership of the device at that point in time. And so the beauty of what we are trying to do, which I think we're getting the most feedback about, is the fact that it's a much safer environment. It's a more open environment in terms of the parents being able to, watch over their shoulders and be okay with the games that the kids are playing, etc., etc. So just from a safety standpoint, right, when it comes to 8, 9, 10-year-olds playing, it's a great way for parents to keep tabs. And then it's also a great way for parents to expose the kids to the gaming experience, because sometimes, again, when you talk about some of the bigger platforms, there have been challenges and questions about privacy and safety and some of the features that are available that can potentially be exploited, right, when it comes to under 13 or 16 age group. And so those are some of the things that I think, one, we're very focused on, but then two, also are being appreciated by parents, because now it's a easier, it's a simpler, it's a cleaner environment. And it's an easy way for kids to sort of quench their thirst of gaming, but also for the parents to be comfortable that, it's a good experience for them.
That's great. Do you yourself play games? I was curious.
So, back when I was little, I used to play a lot. Over the years, I would say I've lost touch, but now I'm starting to get back into it with some of the games that we've launched.
Amazing. Is there a favorite of yours on there?
I don't know. For me, I think trivia is always the most fun, because I feel like, it's such a communal activity, and, it gets everybody involved. Everybody, sometimes somebody's answering a question, sometimes someone else is answering a question. So everybody feels like, they're contributing and as a group, you're getting rewarded. So to me, I would say trivia is perhaps my most favorite.
Yeah, it seems like that's the first thing or game that I thought of, because it seems the perfect fit for that for connected TVs for that sort of format.
Right.
It's very cool. Well, I'm very excited. Folks who are listening, I'm sure they'll be checking this out. So I really appreciate your time, Vikrant, and thanks for being on This Week in Gaming. I hope you'll join us next time you have another cool niche that you're diving into with your business.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. And I would just mention, I forgot to mention, I think, as my answer to your first question. So folks can go to, right now we've only launched these games on the Roku platform. So they can go to Roku. We have an app called Happy Kids, where they can find a lot of these games. We have an app called Fossum, where they can find these games as well. So I just wanted to let listeners know that they can find these on the Roku platform.
Amazing. Well, thanks, Vikrant, as always. And I hope you'll be back. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Vikrant Mathur is co-founder of Future Today. Look for the free games apps on your smart television today.
Flawless victory! Continue.
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had such a blast bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening, and shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a gaming-filled week. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Brian Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.